Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the Central Plains, the Northern Plains, all the way up to the Midwest, and then even out to the west into Colorado today. So it's a little bit of everything for storms today. Let's go ahead and get to your headlines. We have an upgraded severe weather risk for today. So we saw that slight risk earlier on the board. Now we officially have an enhanced risk, a level 3 risk for storms today. Widespread storm coverage is expected later today, so we are expecting several severe weather reports, which mean either wind reports, hail reports, tornado reports as we head into the evening hours, which is the reason for that upgraded enhanced risk today. Several of those will be that tornado and wind threat for today. All hazards are on the board, including that flood and hail threat, but I really think that one of the most widespread risks is going to be a tornado and a wind risk for today. And weekend storms, yeah, not only today are we expecting storms, but we're also expecting that through Saturday and Sunday as well. So we are watching for that, not only a storm threat, but also a flash flooding threat as we head into the weekend. Alrighty, taking a look at your 24-hour storm reports. What did we see yesterday? Yesterday we saw some hail across Rapid City. We even saw some wind in Denver, some wind out in Kansas. I think one of the most impressive storms that we saw yesterday was up in the northern portion of Illinois, where we did get some significant hail reports up there. And we also got a tornado report as well. We saw those storms come through Chicago. You know, they've got lots of moisture in this area from yesterday's storms. We're going to get storms again for today, and that's going to increase the flooding risk for today as well. Alrighty, let's take a look at your fronts. We've got several fronts going through Kansas. Got another front going through Iowa right now. We actually have storms just coming off of this boundary in Iowa right now. Got a cold front moving down across the plains as well. So we've got several areas to cause storms today, and of course you've got that heat and humidity, and that is going to help tremendously for storm action today as well. Got a few showers across Tennessee right now. I don't think there's any concerns in this area. Current temperatures are pretty warm. We're in the 80s and 90s across most of the U.S. Now notice behind that cold front, we've got some really nice temperatures in the 60s and 70s. I know across Denver, as we head into the middle of next week, we have some highs that only reach the low 70s. It's going to be really nice. You may have to even pull out some long sleeves in Denver next week. But moving on, let's talk about the storms right now. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning that just expired. Check this out. So we had that severe thunderstorm warning across the northern portion of Iowa. However, that has expired now. That was for quarter-size hail and 60 or 50 mile per hour wind gusts. So some pretty weak winds there. However, the important thing about that is we are getting some of those hail risks right now. And we're going to continue to see that as we head into the afternoon and evening. So there you go. There is your enhanced risk, a level 3 risk across the northern portion of Missouri, southern Iowa into Illinois today. That is a brand new upgrade coming from the Storm Prediction Center just a few minutes ago. So let's break down the hazards here. We are talking about a hail risk today. And you know, if you've seen this model before, what you're watching for is you're watching for those darker oranges and maybe even some red hues to mix in for large hail. So we're talking about hail sizes right here. Honestly, not terribly impressive today. That's why I said that the biggest risks are going to be tornado and wind risk today, because could we get a few ping pongs squeezed out a few of these areas today? I think it's possible, sure. But I think for the most part, we're going to be talking about pocket change hail today. What does that mean? It means quarter size and smaller, penny, dime, nickel sized for a lot of these places today. So don't get your hopes up whenever you see these colors pop up on the board. I'm not guaranteeing a hail risk for today or a significant hail risk for today. I'm saying it's possible, but there are other risks that need to be talked about more. So let's get to hail and then we'll get to wind and tornado. Okay, so here's a look at your max forecasted hail size for today. Ping pong ball size hail likely. We're talking about 1.5 inch size hail. Again, that'll be pretty isolated. Most of the other hailstones are going to be a little bit smaller. You know how this goes, right? So where are we watching for that largest hailstone? Well, I think that Kansas City and Des Moines, Iowa have some of the best chances right in here for those larger hailstones. Your chance goes down pretty significantly as you go farther out to the east into places like Chicago and Michigan. Minnesota, pretty low chance for hail today. However, we do have a little area in here that is trying to bring in some larger hailstones. We'll see if that actually happens. I kept you guys in the low category for hail today. And Amarillo, we are watching for Amarillo storms as well. So Amarillo, we could see some storms, really heavy rain in this area, but we could also see some large hail. Large is a Just kind of stretching it. I would say probably that $half size to maybe up to ping pong ball size. Very, very isolated out in Amarillo. How are we on mic? Is our mic good right now? Yeah, we feel good about it? Okay, let's move on then. Let's go into that tornado forecast for today. So one of the reasons that the Storm Prediction Center upgraded the risk from a slight to an enhanced risk is because of the tornado risk right across the western portion of Illinois and eastern portion of Iowa. Now we now have a level 3 tornado risk for today across Moline, Illinois, and I hope I'm saying that correctly here. But we also have that level 2 risk across Des Moines and into Chicago, and then even a level 1 across Milwaukee and Kansas City. So what we're watching for today, of course, is the pretty significant tornado risk and a wind risk on top of that. So I do think that we're going to see some pretty significant wind speeds out of these storms today into the afternoon and evening hours tonight. Most of these storms will come in while you are still awake. Most of them will be out of your path before you go to sleep. Now that's not true for everyone, but for most of us it is. Alrighty, taking a look at the wind forecast as well, very similar to what we saw for that tornado forecast and hail. I think the most significant storms are going to fall between Kansas City, Des Moines, and Chicago, Illinois. Denver to Amarillo, we could also see some high wind. I think it'll be pretty isolated, but up to 65, maybe 75 mile per hour wind speeds are definitely possible in this area. Now let's take a look at your timing. I think we're going into timing next. We may talk about flood risk. Let's see. Okay, we're going into flood risk, then we'll bring out your timing. Here's a look at your flood risk for today. Really, the areas that I am watching for very, very closely are right in here, anywhere from Chicago all the way to Kansas City. And then we've got one area up in the northeastern portion of Colorado, and that's another area that we're watching for some heavy rain. So really what we're watching for in this area is we already got rain yesterday, right? You got that rain yesterday, 1, 2, maybe 3 inches in some spots. So the soil is moist. It is full of water. However, we are watching for heavy rainfall again today. So where does that water go? Well, it's going to struggle to go into the soil because it's full of water already. So it's going to go off into the roadways. It's going to go off into the maybe highways or underpasses. So make sure that you are watching for those areas on your way home this evening, and if you have any late night plans. Very similar out in Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska, we are watching for heavy rainfall once again this afternoon and evening. Not everyone getting rain here. However, if you do get rain, it is likely to be those tall towers that have plenty of moisture in them. They will drop all of that water, and you could see another flooding risk in this area as well. Now let's talk timing, because we are talking about so many states today. Let me know, where are you watching from? We want to really tailor this to your area specifically. So where are you guys watching from today? We're going to go through this future radar state by state here in just a minute, but I want to give you an overview first so you can kind of see what is all happening, right? We've got that one area with the tornado and wind risk up in Iowa and Illinois. We've got another area with a flood and wind risk down in Colorado, and then we've got another area down in Texas. And that's really the 3 main areas that we're watching for today. I know we still have storms up in Minnesota. We didn't really talk about that, but if we need to, we can pivot and talk about that. Alrighty, let's restart our timeline and let's go through your future radar here. So here's what we're watching for. We've already got storms in northern Iowa right now, and we've already seen a severe thunderstorm warning from one of these storms, okay? We are going to see coverage increase as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. Starting out clustered at first, but then congealing into a long line of storms here as we head into the evening hours. So this long line of storms goes from south of Des Moines all the way up to the southern side of Wisconsin. Now, as we continue to see this progress into the late night hours, we're going to start to lose a lot of the oomph here, okay? We're going to start to lose a lot of the strength. Storms will weaken into the overnight hours as the sun goes down. We have a tornado risk right in this area just before those storms weaken into the central portion of Illinois. That tornado risk is still possible, but it's going down as it tracks farther to the south and east. Again, the flooding risk is still possible, and again, a flooding risk at night is very dangerous. So we want to make sure that we are pointing that out to you, that flooding risk is still possible into the early morning hours tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. Now, this is something that we've seen in Chicago already this week. We saw about 5.5 inches of rainfall within about 90 minutes, so a very short time period. And there were flooding issues on the highways here, you know, on the underpasses, just under the bridges, okay? So it's possible, it could still happen. Alrighty, moving over to Nebraska, we've got Wyoming and Colorado, Kansas right here. Most of these storms are going to be north of I-70 and to the east of I-25. So we are watching for storms to form in clustered, isolated to clustered is what I'd call this here. Later on, closer to dinner time, into the evening hours. So this is a little bit later from what we saw out in Iowa. We'll continue to see those storms as we head into the late night hours, but I do think a lot of the severity is going to go down as we head into the overnight. So you get into the early morning hours on Saturday, I think that we will be just about severe clear. So I would really take a look at these storms between about 5 and 11 o'clock tonight. Now moving down to Texas, the panhandle of Texas, looking pretty promising for some wind tonight. Now it's a very, very low tornado threat, but we could see some wind and hail in this area as well as a flooding risk. So you can see that these storms are going to be later on in the evening, okay? So this is a later timeline. This is the only area that I'm worried about if you go to bed tonight, you may be waking up to a severe thunderstorm warning or two. I think that the warnings in this area are going to be pretty isolated. So the severe threat will really be focused on that wind and that flooding threat anywhere from Amarillo to Lubbock, Texas. And this does go into the early morning hours of Saturday morning. So there you go. There is your forecast for Friday. We covered a lot of areas. We covered that tornado risk out in Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri. We covered the wind and flooding risk in Colorado, which does include Denver, or just to the east of Denver. I told you just to the east of I-25 there. And we also covered that wind and flooding risk down in Amarillo, Texas. You want to go into Saturday? You want to talk about your weekend now? Let's talk about Saturday. We have storms anywhere from Texas all the way up to Michigan. We do have a slight risk in Michigan for tomorrow. We also have a flooding risk in these areas, and we'll talk about the flooding risk a little bit more in just a few minutes. Now, the severe outlook for Sunday, marginal risk right now, but I do expect that to increase to a slight risk. Marginal risk anywhere from our New England states all the way down into the plains, the southern plains for the most part here. But, excuse me, a little hiccup there. We could also see storms into the Missouri Valley as well. I think we go into flood risk next, maybe? Oh, maybe not. Okay, well, either way, your flood risk for Saturday and Sunday does include Oklahoma, so for all of our Oklahoma watchers out there, make sure that you have that on your radar. Alrighty, let's take a look at the storms for tomorrow. You're going to see these storms kind of linger around in portions of southern Missouri and northern Arkansas into the early morning hours. Increased coverage across Oklahoma into the afternoon and evening, and for that slight risk, it's also an afternoon and evening risk up in Michigan as well. And if you have more questions about storms over the weekend, put that in the comments section. And I'm pretty good within about the next hour of responding to those comments. Sometimes I even include a graphic. It kind of depends on how much work I have to do for the day. So maybe I'll make some graphics for Saturday and Sunday storms as well. Just let us know. Hey, great news. We have a high pressure system out to the Four Corners that is starting to weaken and dissipate, pushing off to the west. Why is that good news? It gets things going again, okay? We like to see these troughs come in. We like to see storms move in and out. We like to see the weather change. Whenever we are stuck in these very, very stagnant patterns with this high pressure system setting off to the west, it's very, very hot, very dry for the Four Corners, but it also creates a very stagnant pattern for places like Oklahoma and Texas. Why have we seen slow moving storms here lately that have brought us that flooding risk? Oftentimes it's because we don't have that upper air flow to push things along. Think about a fan in the upper levels of the atmosphere that pushes those storms like a sail on a ship along the plains out to the east. Well, we just have not had that here lately, and we are finally starting to get some of these troughs back in here that are encouraging storm development, but also storm motion. And so these fronts are going to help not only see conditions change, but it's also going to help to see those storms move a little bit faster. Not a ton faster, but a little bit. Okay, so there's your jet stream. We don't stay in this active pattern for very long. We go back into zonal flow as we head into the middle of next week, keeping us a little bit cooler. I think you're going to really appreciate these temperatures as we go into the weekend and next week as well. Look, we're cooler than average out in Colorado, portions of New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and even places in Texas. Temperatures are likely to cool as we head into the weekend. So cooler than average on Saturday and Sunday. Let's go a little bit farther out now. What about the middle of July, the middle of July, some of the hottest times of the year, right? We've seen temperatures in the upper 90s, triple digits, maybe even higher than 102, 103, 104. Dangerous heat. Well, this year it looks like we are getting a little bit of a break. Now I'm worried about how we'll pay for this later on in August, but we will appreciate the break while we have it. Cooler temperatures than average, so we have a really good chance of being below average for this time of the year across most of the U.S. A lot of people getting in on this nice weather, especially for the summertime. We still have some warm temperatures out on the East Coast and out on the West Coast as well. And let's talk about our rainfall outlook. It looks like we will be pretty active with storms in this area, anywhere from New Mexico all the way out to the western side of Texas, and even for the most southern portion of the U.S. So rainfall outlook looks pretty good. We like to see that this time of the year because it keeps the fire dangers away. So that's a really, really good thing. Alrighty, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. Again, put your questions and your comments in the comments section, and we will get back to those within about the next hour. We'll try to answer as many weather questions as we can. But in the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We are also on Threads. We have been very, very active on YouTube and X and TikTok here lately. So we're really, really trying to stay active, get you guys up to date on all of the weather happenings. If you are interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, if we saw any hail from that storm up in northern Iowa earlier today, our meteorologists, they have it mapped like right now. They are on the ball. They are watching maps. They're watching the radar 24/7. So if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com or head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information. Alrighty, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we will see you back here same time, same place on Monday.